Hey guys, we're back with the 25th episode of Desert Smash Weekly. We got a lot to talk about today, so let's jump into it. Let's head on over to our results. We've got the Gaming Zone, 14 entrants this week. Amdod takes first place, SAK Skylar takes second, and Pow's Kami takes third. Move on over to the SAK Gaming Lounge, where we've got Sink or Swim. We've got a doubles bracket, an amateur bracket, and a singles bracket. We got doubles and 6 teams entered. We've got Latai and SS taking first, Scorch and Stroder taking second, Coco and Amdod in third. And then in the amateur bracket, it was Pow's Kami taking first, myself TG Stigmata in second, and Pow's Wolfen took third, though he did forfeit in winners finals. And then in singles, there were 22 entrants total. We had SAK Stroder in first, SS in second, Latai in third, and Area 51's Coco in fourth. Staying at SAK, but moving on to Friday night, we got the Smash Lab 85 going on. 14 entrants, Pow's Kami in first, Dio with the comeback in second, and Karoma in third. And then we've got Smash for Discoveries. We've got, I believe, the 14th entrance of this. We've got 6 teams in doubles. Horse and Silver in first, Yudiketo and Nizas in second, and Wandoken and Dario in third. And then in singles, 17 entrants down in Tucson. Silver takes first, Nizas in second, Horse in third, Dario, the Palutena in fourth. And let's just talk real quick about what's going on PR-wise. So a couple of interesting mix-ups and sets this week. Skylar beating Kami, and then Amdod actually beating Skylar and Kami at TGZ. That was kind of not exactly unprecedented, but it was different from what we've been seeing recently. We've seen a lot of Skylar dominating at TGZ, and for Amdod to get another tournament back under his belt is pretty big. It doesn't necessarily mean that he's PR right now, but getting those little wins on Skylar and Kami is definitely going to push him closer to that spot if he can get close to it at all. And then Kami beating Scorch, nice little win for him. Waldo over Junior Z was a nice win for Waldo, as he tries to get a couple more wins, having already a win on Stroder, win on Skylar. So he is also trying to make a lower end PR push. And of course, Junior Z over Wolfen. Junior Z still not quite done with his PR resume yet, giving it a shot. We've also got Amdod over Wolfen. Coco taking out Amdod this week. Coco still trying to make that push for a lower end PR spot, or maybe a middle end PR spot. It's hard to tell with still a few weeks left in the season. We've got Latai over Coco. Latai getting that revenge set. SS over Latai, of course, not ever a surprising win for SS's part. But Stroder over SS 2 more times, and that does bring it to 5-5, as Rave reports in his PR, in his seasonal PR list of reports. So they're a very interesting matchup right now. So it may end up being that whoever pulls ahead in that set count could end up being #1 on PR this season, but we'll see. There's still a lot more to be said, and Psyche, of course, is in that mix as well for #1. Then we have Horse over Kami, and then over at Greninja Saga, the only AZ player who ended up making up top 48 was Latai. So good job to Latai. Yeah, I'm really excited for everyone who went to Greninja Saga. A lot of people, especially Stroder, were very disappointed in their results. But you guys should all know that we're still proud of you guys, no matter what, especially Stroder. That you still went and did the combo contest, even though you didn't practice for it at all, is really cool. And you still almost pulled off a really cool combo. You had some cool ideas going on, and I know you got some help from your Greninja friends, and that's awesome. And so I do want you to know, Stroder, that we all support you. We're all looking forward to still more great things to come from you. And then great job to Latai, another good placing from him. Hopefully more of our AZ homies can still do well, can continue to do better out of state. Greninja Saga was definitely a pretty stacked tournament, and it looks like pretty much all the regionals and especially the 2 GGCs are going to be very stacked from now on. Nairo Saga is going to be a very tough saga, certainly. But we do have our upcoming tournaments this week. We've got Tuesday night DGZ, Sink or Swim Thursday night, Smash Lab Friday night. Nothing going on this weekend, but we do have Gambit coming on in early June, which is just a couple of weeks away, and then 2GGC Nairo Saga, June 10th to 11th. So those are what you guys got to be looking out for. New Mexico is also trying to get people to come out to New Mexico this weekend, so that's an option if anyone wants to go out of state. But that's going to do it for our results section, and we're going to get going with our interview with Lethargic Frobro from SAK. Okay guys, here we are with SAK's Lethargic Frobro, aka Josh, and he's on here to talk about commentary. So Josh, how you doing?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm great, man. Excited for another week. We got the Summer of Smash is upon us, and with that, it's going to come a lot of opportunities, both for new players to jump on the mic and for those experienced commentators to get lots of opportunity.
Yep.
So let's talk about beginners jumping on commentary. Lots of people don't know how to just get started. Like, a lot of people are thinking, I want to commentate someday, but I don't really know how to do it. So what would you say?
Well, it's like everybody has an opinion about the game. Some people are more vocal about it than others, but in a Smash scene, you talk to a bunch of people about the game, and realistically, at least from my perspective, is commentary is just a more formal version of talking to your friends or peers about your opinions of the game. So when you go to your local tournament and you ask your TO, hey, can I get on the mic? The first time you do it, you should really just focus on being yourself, because you don't know what to improve on because you don't have any basis.
Right.
So realistically, you should just be yourself. But the one caveat in that is that if you don't know information, you should make it clear that you don't know the information rather than saying something you believe is right and have it be wrong. Because that's more often than not the biggest gripe that I hear about people's commentary. And that's what everybody is. That's the usual go-to. I don't like this guy. He spouts whatever he thinks is right, and it's not really right. And that's what I see in Twitch chat, what I see in YouTube comments. So as long as you can just avoid, obviously it's no one's perfect. I've messed up some information before and I've gotten corrected on a later date.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I mean, that kind of stuff happens all the time. For example, I thought Ness's Nair was frame 3 for a solid year and a half until I actually looked it up on Kuragani Hammer, and that was literally just because I was listening to commentators say it was frame 3, and because it looked fast enough to me. So you can't just never assume something is right because you heard it from somebody else until you know it's A, from a very reputable source, and B, you've actually done the research yourself, especially when it comes to things like frame data and very specific numbers.
Yeah, because character mains are very specific about their frame data.
Yes, they all tend to know at least 3 moves by heart.
Yeah.
Everybody
Ness's
knows how
Nair
fast
being Ness's Nairs, Yoshi Nairs, Villager Nairs, all the character whose Nairs annoy other people, they know.
They know how fast their Nair is.
They definitely do, and they probably know how fast their Nair is better than you know how fast their Nair is.
Exactly. And with that comes, I think, just the admission of, if you're not 100% sure on frame data, just don't say it at all. But say, I think it's just easier to say, hey, that's a fast move. And 9 times out of 10, if it looks like a fast move, it's probably a fast move. But fast doesn't mean frame 3. Fast doesn't mean frame 7. But
yeah, it's a relative term that people can get behind whether or not they think you're right or wrong. It's commonly agreed on that Ness's Nair is a pretty fast move.
As long as you don't say Ganon's up tilt is a fast move, you're probably safe.
Yeah. If it's within the bounds of common sense, people will generally, if not agree, at least not disagree.
Right, exactly. So then, what are other little tips you'd give a first-time commentator? What's something that they could do to just really improve their game? Was it research? Is it watching other commentators? What do you think?
Well, I definitely think both of those are really good ways to get better. Researching the game, frame data, obviously playing the game to some extent also incredibly helps. But a lot of first-time commentators, they usually fall into like one of two categories, at least from my experience, is to where they don't talk enough or they talk too much.
Right.
And commentating, like, it's a pair, so you're supposed to work as a team. It's kind of like doubles, to where you want to combo off each other, you want to throw each other some good ideas, and hopefully by the end of the set, you both have walked away with something positive.
Right, yeah. A lot of people get on the mic and think that you're talking to the chat, when really you just, most of the time, you got to be focused on just talking to your co-commentator, not like describing the game to people who don't know who don't understand the game, but just having a nice little chat about what's going on the screen.
Yeah, and some of the best commentators, at least the one, like the commentary duos that I really admire, like Ultra David and James Chen, D1 TK Breezy, and Scar and Toph.
Right.
They almost always not like follow a routine, but it seems like they're having a friendly conversation with each other that's just vague enough for you to kind of listen in from like maybe like just outside their conversation group and be like, hey, I agree with what you're saying.
Right. Yeah, it's true.
Yeah.
And don't get, and I don't think anyone should get focused in on too much else than just know what you know and admit that you don't know what you don't know, and then from there just have fun. Like commentary is really supposed to be fun. You shouldn't be nervous about it, I don't think.
Yeah, definitely. It's supposed to be enjoyable for you, and if you're having a good time, more often than not, the stream's having a good time.
Right. So what can experienced commentators do? What can these like top guys on commentary who, you know, maybe they want their first shot at a top 8, what can they do to really improve their game and go from I'm good at commentary to now I can actually say that I am a great AZ commentator?
So after you get past like the stages of how much do I talk, like what do I say, it really goes past the bare bones, like this is my checklist who I follow, and more of how you do it.
Right.
Because, well, first of all, if you're not personable, no one's going to listen to you. So you need to kind of draw a line, or at least an outline of how much can I be myself, to where, yes, this is supposed to be a friendly conversation, but it's also in a professional setting. So you need to find a nice balance of including your personality in a, I guess for lack of a better word, dignified conversation. Like you're not scholars drinking brandy over like we're playing video games. Like it's nothing. I say that and it sounds kind of bad, but like we're playing video games, and
no, it's true.
It's meant to be enjoyed. Yeah, it's meant to be enjoyed, and analysis is welcome. But if you just like dig too deep in analysis, it becomes boring.
True. Because
then you kind of lose yourself.
Yeah.
So I would definitely say that is a big thing of being able to include your personality in a way that is professional, in a way that is professional but also enjoyable.
Yeah, and I think that a lot of AZ commentators, myself included, get caught up in that, especially more recently that we have seemingly a plethora of analytical commentators now that we're past like the era of Swoops and Dallas and well, Austin still commentates now and then, but those guys aren't on the mic as much. It just seems like we've got a bunch of analytical guys now, and a lot of us, including myself, struggle with the idea of struggle with the idea of shutting up and just like not letting some idea go on for 5 minutes.
Yeah, and that's the second thing I was going to talk about, is that after you get past like analyzing the game, you build up a skill of going back to my doubles analogy of throwing to your teammate.
Yeah.
To where even if you have a idea completely thought out, realistically talking for like 5 minutes on the mic by yourself isn't really enjoyable.
True.
Probably you after a while you get tired and you're just like, man, why?
As anyone who's done solo commentary can definitely.
Oh yeah, no, it's hard.
Yeah.
It's definitely hard to do solo commentary. But even if you have like a perfectly planned idea, most likely and more often than not, if you include your partner in that idea, it becomes much more interesting.
Right. Totally.
And that's also how you learn things. Like, if you have someone that you commentate with a lot, you probably know their habits and know how they think, which makes it a little bit easier because you can kind of like throw them stuff that you're like, yeah, I kind of know you have this opinion about this. It's different than mine. So you recognize the differences with your teammate and you throw them something that they can use. It gets a lot harder when you're commentating with someone you don't know, or as you previously mentioned, someone who's a, I guess, perceived lesser skill level in commentary.
Or just a beginner, yeah.
Yeah. That's a better word for it. That is definitely a better word for it.
Whatever. So someone who's a beginner, someone you're not familiar with at least, what should you do in that situation?
Now, this is something that I learned like pretty well because I forget which term it was. It was one of our monthlies to where I was commentating pools with Swoops. And personally, I think Swoops is a great commentator. Sometimes like the language slips a little bit, but
he's experienced, that's for sure.
Yeah, he's definitely experienced, and that's this would be an example of two people who are reasonably competent at commentary, doing commentary with each other. And at that point, you can kind of... It became less of the, I know what his opinions are. Because I've talked to him a few times, and I kind of know him, but I can't say we're, like, as familiar with each other as, like, me and Spearwing.
Right.
Like, yeah, we've known each other for a while, but commentary with Swoops, it became less of a, I kind of know what your viewpoint is, so I'm going to throw you this to bring it out. It was more of a, I trust you know what to say, so I'm going to ask you a question that I'm like 90% sure you have an answer to.
Okay.
And then I also learned something from that. So I kind of use like that experience as a way to help myself grow. Whether or not he used it the same way is up to him and something I will never know. But if you can definitely trust your commentator to answer a question, or at least trust that he will at least have an answer to it that is insightful or useful, I think that is a great way to approach someone, because you can both do analysis and you can both talk about it, which is fine, but you want to get to that like next level of analysis where you're analyzing with each other rather than individually.
Right. Yeah.
Which I tune into the Scar and Toph show, and they were talking about that last week, to where Vish asked Zoo what Armada could do to play better against Mango, and that is a great example of what not to ask.
Right. Yeah, that's just a super vague question.
It's super vague. Even if it wasn't vague, like the skill level difference, especially in Melee, there's obviously like a high baseline skill, but like when you're talking about the top 5, like there's a clear definition between the top 5, and no discredit to Vish or Zoo, they're both great players, but I think that there's like an extra level of the game that makes the top 5 like different than the rest. So it's like asking someone to analyze something that they themselves don't know is a tall order.
Yeah, no, you've got to understand that before you're going in. It's the same as me walking up to a SoCal tournament and saying, "Gosh, I just lost to Void. How do I do better against Void?" And it's like, well, can you start by doing well against
and Sheik?
the next guy in your bracket, the first guy in your losers round 1, maybe.
Yeah, it's like there comes a time where, or there comes a point where it's like player skill outweighs matchup. Where it's like, rather than how do I do better against Void, well, how do I do better against Sheik? Well, how do you do better against Sheik? How do you deal with the specific tools that Sheik? It's like there's always like a second level question that gets you deeper towards what you actually want.
Right. Yeah. And then when you get to something like you're talking about a Mango, well, Mango is a very odd player. A lot of people would assume. So you're talking about, well, how do you adjust to someone who's got such great mix-ups? And then you can get to questions like, well, how do you deal with someone who's got such a strong punish game? Talking about like Latai maybe. How do you deal with someone who's got such a strong neutral like Psyche? And those are often player questions just as much as they are character questions.
Yeah. And it also helps that the commentators also play the game, because that's when they get to play these guys. Because I know I've played against Psyche, I've played against Latai, and the real, like, the score of the match doesn't really matter at that point. It's the experience of playing them, so you understand what their opponent is feeling.
Right.
To where it's like, I've played against Psyche, I know what it's like to get shut down by needles for 3 minutes straight.
Yeah.
It's just a feeling that every player has their own like take on the game, so what you feel as their opponent changes. And being able to articulate that, I think, is also a very good angle of the match, rather than not just what's going on in front of you, but what's going on in the person's head behind the character.
Right. Okay. Well, I think we got a lot of information right there.
Yeah.
So thanks so much, Josh. You were excellent.
Yeah.
Excellent at your analysis and excellent at your conversation as well, as always.
Thank you.
Thanks, man. Have a great week. When can we see you on commentary again?
So I will be at the next Gambit.
Okay.
I don't know when I'll be able to make it up to a Phoenix Weekly, but I'll 100% be there at the next Gambit, which I believe is June 3rd. June 3rd.
I think so.
Tucson doesn't have a stream because we're still working on internet stuff.
Okay.
We're getting a wired connection to the new room that our venue has.
Perfect.
But once we get that, we will get stream up first, and then we'll add commentary. But probably the best bet is Gambit.
Okay. Well, I hope Tucson gets their stream and recordings figured out. That would be great to have back in our scene.
Yeah.
And
just more content.
With that, good luck, dude, with Smash and other games, and with commentary in general.
Thank you very much. Good luck to you.
Thanks, bud.